Our first speaker on this stage will be Erik Slooten. Erik is a seasoned executive with a vast experience in strategic transformation with the help of technology, specifically AI and data science. Active as CIO and senior executive for automation and delivery excellence, has helped many an organization and client reinvent themselves successfully. The title of the talk, AI as a catalyst, not a replacement, empowering developers in the age of infinite input. Please welcome on stage with an early morning energized round of applause, Erik Slooten.
Good morning. Good morning. This is super weird because I can barely hear myself talking, but I hope you guys can hear me talking. I'm an engineer. I was educated in the 90s in network engineering. And then a whole bunch of things happened in the 90s. Computers became smaller, bigger, faster, internet came in, mobile telephony came in, a lot of things came in. And we all, as freshly graduated engineers, had to pivot really fast. And we had to learn to adjust really fast. And if we look back, I think most of you are too young to remember the age without internet. But if you look back, you could say that the internet in general is a very good thing. Comes with a lot of threats, comes with a lot of risks. It comes with a lot of demands, like energy demand. But generally, I think the whole world would say a world without internet will probably be a less good thing than a world with the internet. I'm going to talk to you today about, this is going to be a motivational speech. I'm not going to talk a lot about the actual technology of AI, even though we work with AI technologies every day in the job that I do. But I want to talk about myself and you guys. Most of you are engineers of some kind, software engineers. And I want to talk about what we do as a person now that this wave is on its way towards us. Now that AI is able to do primary coding, now that AI can do software design, can do UX, it can do a lot of things, not without any help and not without any learning, but neither can you. So the question is, what do we do in an age where we know by now that AI will disrupt the world and is disrupting the world? And we're looking at, I work for an American company, and we work a lot with Chinese companies. And if you look at American and Chinese companies and the software development environments that they have, half of which are, I lost the screen. Half of which are now agents. So you see people opening meetings, and there's agents there interacting with people. There's agents answering questions, like budgetary questions, or look up code, or look at the current life cycle of the development we're in. So this is a reality in America. This is a reality in China, for sure. And it will become a reality in the environments that we are working in ourselves as well. What my experience is, and I am old enough to tell you about this since I was there when the internet came to life, my experience is that while there's a destabilizing factor to new technologies, and you're used to doing things by yourself, learning to adjust and take these things as tools that make you the master of your own destiny is absolutely key. I'm talking about Scrum Masters. A Scrum Master or a developer or an architect or a business analyst or a tester, if you still have those, or a tester need to use the modern tooling available to them. In our team, we have developers, we have data scientists, we have architects, we have business analysts, but none of them work without AI. None of them work without some type of assisted AI. Even the code we develop is partially done or reviewed or debugged by AI. Does that mean that we have the lights out and there's no one working anymore, we just have agents? Absolutely not. But our throughput on being able to go from idea to concept to an implementation at a client has gone from months to weeks sometimes. We go from idea to concept to implementation for a high-profile security case within 3 weeks right now with 2 guys and 5 agents. Okay. So this is the reality. This is not something we should worry about. We have to deal with that. Just like the people in testing need to understand that without using GitHub to run your unit tests, you're basically wasting your time and everyone else's time. You could be using it to do something much more interesting, or you could be using it to do something a lot faster than you were doing before. So, all of you are engineers, you studied hard, you worked hard, you can write multiple languages, you've understood the concepts of OSI layers, you've understood the deep insights of data engineering, and now there's all these agents that can do at least partially what you can do. And you need to ask yourself, what did I work for all these years if I now have agents that can code? Okay, and I asked myself this question quite a few times as well. What are your answers here? And I would love to hear your thoughts later on. What are your answers here? Of course, companies are not going to stop adapting to AI. That's an unthinkable course. Of course, their competition is going to implement AI. Of course, customer care is going to be done by AI. Of course, hospitals are going to start using AI to do their analysis of patient records. Saudi Arabia launched their first fully AI clinic last month. Fully AI, avatars, the full works, deep learning for patient records. Everything was built within 1.5 years. This still has doctors in them, but you don't see them. They're there to manage the agents, they're there to supervise, they're there to correct, to retrain, to make sure that the data is clean, that any collision that happens is there, that patients that complain get dealt with properly, but they're just behind the scene. Everything else is handled by AI. There are real estate companies that are renting out hotels, fully fledged AI. There's not a single the person is still there to make sure that the suitcases get moved around, stuff like that. Everything else, the access to the cards, the access to the kitchen, making sure that everything's there for the client, all of these things are managed by AI. Okay. This is a fact. I went to Madrid 2 months ago. I didn't see a single person. It was a great experience. Beautiful apartment. Everything I could use on the phone. I could chat with the AI to say, oh, can you make sure that I have coffee tomorrow? All that stuff. And everything just happened automatically. Okay. So yes, if we know the service industry is disruptive, if we know that the hospitals are being disrupted, doctors are being disrupted, hands up for people that have already asked an AI a medical question. I sent my blood results to Perplexity the other day just to make sure that the doctor was, you trust them already to tell you at least some indication, right? You say, I have a weird spot. Should I go to the doctor? Yes, no. You're going to ask, right? Instead of sitting for 2 hours looking at some grumpy nurse, you're going to ask Perplexity, right? This is going to happen, guys, okay? The same thing will happen to us engineers, the same thing. So the question is now, is AI going to take over all our jobs? No, but it will replace the need for certain things to be done by people. So this conference is called Craft, okay? So I'd like to think of engineers as really smart people that consider to be craftsmen. Now, 100 years ago, all tables in the world were made by, maybe 150 years ago, were made by hand. And if you would say this is handmade, people go, so who cares, right? Now, if I have guests and I say this table was made by hand, they go like, ooh, that is really cool. Somebody actually made this table. You didn't go to IKEA or somewhere. This is really handmade. That's amazing. Similar things are going to happen with some of the stuff we do now. Sometimes you'd be happy to pay more for someone to really code around you and to really work with you and make craft software or craft solutions. And they'll pay more. It'll be a niche. It won't be thousands of systems being developed by people anymore. A big part will be done by lower level coding done by an agent that will be supervised by people like us. people that know what coding should look like, people that understand that there's certain collisions, people that know what memory leaks do, people that understand that you need to run things on a quantum computer in a different way than you run them on a binary system. All of these things are still required, but you don't actually need to do these things yourself anymore. That's the difference. A carpenter, no matter how skilled they are, will have super cool tools. Amazing tools, laser-guided tools, maybe even AI-infused tools. They already use them now. They can still claim that they are the master of their craft. You will be the master of your craft, but you'll be surrounded by a whole room full of software that is at your service. So you need to stop thinking that you write everything yourself and open the command screen and start reading the lines of code and start managing your world in a different way. The internet. We're back to the internet. I know you guys think it's boring, but I was very excited in the 90s that it came. The internet forced an explosion of data. Okay, all of you know that AI and basically any intelligence needs clean and huge amounts of data, enormous amounts of data. And I tell you now, if you don't spend a lot of time learning data science and the absolute key to data science, you will not understand what happens to your world anymore later on. This is, if you ask me, if you haven't studied it already, what should I study now? Data science is your new foundational key to anything you do. Knowing what's wrong underneath the hood starts with the data and the data science underneath it. Everything else is on top, everything. Look at the amount of data that comes just in the last 3 years out of an AI-led world. From 79 zettabytes to 181 zettabytes by the end of this year. Okay, data has exploded. Is it artificially generated data? Yes, but so is a lot of things that are on the internet before AI was there. But the fact is, you as a data scientist or as a person that will use data to produce outcomes for a client, you need more data. You have more input. So not only will you have more tools, like Copilot, GitHub, like Cursor, like whatever you use for your coding assistant, you will also have a mountain more materials to build with. You will have zettabytes. In 3 years, the entire data of the internet has more than doubled. You'll have a giant amount of materials. So you will not only be the master of the toy shop, you'll also be a master constructor. You'll have mountains of construction materials to build with. And if you need more, you can genetically, artificially generate more data and customize exactly what you need that data to look like for your model to be able to learn. A couple of thoughts here, okay? You know what OSI layers are, right? Yes, no? OSI? Yes, okay. It's the logical network structure and applications on top. There is no OSI layer for AI, and I've already talked to some of the standardized people in the international institutes. We need an OSI layer for AI, okay? That there is no way you can treat it like just any other application. The function inside of your architecture is not the same, and even the whole logical function of AI is different than what you used to do when you were writing normal software. Agents are your new friends. If you don't start making friends with your agents now, you'll be very lonely very soon, I tell you now. Okay, bring agents into your life. Make them your colleagues, make them your friends, learn to trust them and how to talk to them. Just like us, you know, engineers, not everyone's very extroverted, so you need a special way of talking to them. It's the same with AI. You need to prompt them in the right way, and not every AI reacts the same way either. Not every agent reacts the same way, so prompt engineering becomes your new communication skill. You need to learn how to talk to a finance AI. You need to learn how to talk to a software development AI. Okay. Smartphones, I tell you now, this is the biggest bet. But if I see OpenAI investing billions in new devices that they're developing right now with the designer of the iPhone, which basically started a few months ago, and they raised billions and billions of dollars in starting capital, I guarantee you this will disrupt the smartphone. So the next thing, now that everyone, you know, when you stand in the bus or in the elevator and no one looks you in the face anymore because everyone's looking at their phone, I think that's a thing of we'll look at the pictures in 10 years from now, that's a thing of the past. I think there will be devices that will be specifically designed to serve as AI carriers. I'm quite sure about it. It will be much more ergonomic. It will be much less disruptive. It will be something that will be your assistant or your buddy. Maybe it will be on your shoulder. Maybe it will be on your ear. I don't know yet. But it will be something very, very different from what we have today. Healthcare we talked about. Handcrafted code will become a niche. You could sell it saying, you know, I'm a master of special design software just for you. You don't have to worry about, you know, the mass-produced AI-crafted code. I will customize it for you. That will be a thing. Ethical code, very important. We haven't talked about yet. Bringing these type of entities into your lives requires ethics and standards. Okay? If you start bitching at your AI co-pilot friend the whole day, it will start learning behaviors and start generating output based on your inputs. Okay? So mistreating AI should be a crime just as much as mistreating your colleagues is a crime. Having a corporate conduct behavior as to what you use AI for and what you can't use AI for should be absolutely codified in the laws of your company. Being able to, an AI can profile you. It could create biases based on that profile. Having bias against gender bias, age bias, racial bias, any types of bias should be filtered out and blocked and retrained, so we make sure that at least with AI, they're as neutral, opposite to people, as you know, because most people are very biased where it comes to people, gender, race, age. If they see me, they see a boomer, right? If they see you, they see a young white guy who got lucky and is an engineer. They see someone else, there's always a stamp right on your forehead. And what we're trying to do here with AI is special frameworks for that to stop them from going into that bias, or if they are biased, to be able to reset that bias really fast, which is much harder with people. And the last one is data science. I told you before, is the new absolute foundation. If you don't understand data science to the greatest extent, you will just be working on the surface. You'll be polishing the building, but you won't really understand what it's made of. You won't really understand what will make it fall down if it's not built well. This is me, okay? And this is a small personal story. I have time. It's a small personal story, okay? So, I was 41 years old, and I had a heart problem. Okay. I didn't know that at the time, but suddenly I started falling over out of the blue, and I didn't know what was going on. And I had to go to the hospital, and the doctor told me, you have a heart problem. So I was 41 years old, had young kids, and I was shocked. I didn't expect that. Suddenly, something really big and powerful had taken over my life. And the doctor said, you probably have to take it easy, you have to do some health things, you can't smoke anymore. Okay, that was a good reason to stop smoking. There were a lot of things. So I could have used that as a reason to slow down, switch off, have a different career, don't do the stressful work anymore that I was doing. I could do all kinds of things. But instead, what I did, I took 6 months off, okay? And I decided to do something that I've been telling people that I always wanted to do for a long time, and it's learning how to surf. Okay, learning how to surf. Who surfs here? It's really hard, okay, guys? And if you're 41 years old, you guys are not 41 years old. If you're 41 years old, it's harder because you're just slower, you're fatter, you're not as strong anymore as you were when you were 25. So it's really hard. So for 6 months in a row, I set myself the task to do this. And look at the smile. I'm really proud of this one. This is one of my first waves, okay? I learned how to surf, and now every year we go with the family and we go and surf. And the reason why I'm telling you this story is, if you would have told me when I was 35 that I would go and learn how to surf, and I would take 6 months off, stop working for a while, and retrain myself, which was really, really difficult, I would have told you, I don't have time for that. I don't understand. I don't have money for that. I don't think it's going to happen. But because of the shock wave that happened to me in my personal life, I used it to pivot, to change, and I'm healthier, at this picture than I was, way healthier than I was before. I was so proud of myself, and it changed my mind. And all I am saying, guys, is just because something is coming to stop you from what you were doing before, it doesn't mean you can't reinvent yourself. You can reinvent yourself anytime you want. I went from network engineering to software development. I went from software development to cybersecurity. I went from cybersecurity to AI. I was able to reinvent myself mentally many times. And all I can tell you is do the same. Do the same. You're all very smart people. You're all here because you're an engineer of some kind. So that means you can do this. Just you need to stop trying to hold on to something that you thought you were going to do for the rest of your life when you did that studies, whenever you did it, and accept the fact that the world has changed. Your personal world has changed, and the world in general has changed. But we are all capable and skilled to make it into a success. This is my last pitch, and I want you to remember this. Be a master, don't be a hamster. Okay? Be a master. You all have the skills to be a master. Try not to think about only being a skilled master in writing code. Try to be a master of your software environment. Try to be a master of your client's expectation. Try to be a master in the workshop of AI, where you get infinite amounts of amazing tools at your disposal to be able to craft what in the end is still your creation and your product. Okay. Being able to do that is a bigger... I can teach people how to write code in about a few months, from 0 to hero, okay? You can, but being a master of your own destiny and becoming an orchestrator, that's a real art. Being able to produce true creative outcomes, combining different sorts of AI together, and still warranting that the quality is there, that people can trust the product that you built, that it's tested well, that it's ethical, what you are doing, that's mastery. Writing C#, that's what I was writing in the past, is just a trick, you know. It's a language that you learn. This is mastery. That's my pitch for you today. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You can already see this beautiful QR code. You can use it to ask questions. Okay, some phones are out, so let's wait for the first question to come in. Oh, here we go. It's a long one. Okay, so what about the dead internet theory? With AI, the amount of data generated by real people is steadily and exponentially decreasing. Hence, the AI can't be trained on real-world data, only pre-digested AI data, causing hallucinations.
So there's a lot of stuff in this one question here. Hallucinations are not necessarily caused by the source of data that is generating it, like if it's human or artificially generated data. It's caused by discrepancies. So Gen AI or a model will hallucinate when there's conflicts and it needs to improvise, basically, if I have to oversimplify it. So I think that this source of data, the dead internet, and a lot of trash data is being generated by the internet and by AI as well. Yes, there is a huge craft to cleaning that up or recycling it into something that is useful, and that's why I told you during the pitch that data science will become the absolute cement of everything you do. You need to understand data science. We are spending huge amounts of time working with clients on cleaning up their environment so that they can build AI agents and functions on top of it. So if I talk about the internet or anything that is generated by AI, I think it's nothing wrong with artificially generated data as long as it stands for what you need it to do and it helps your model to train faster and it will be able to get a higher quality outcome. That's okay. And yes, there's a lot of rubbish being produced by people as well, and by AI.
Okay, we have another one. Where do you see the biggest limitations of AI on the mid-long term? Where might be the boundaries of AI in software engineering processes?
Who knows? So, so the biggest limitation right now for AI there are a few things, right? So one is, I teach AI in Page, in the university, and one of the challenges is the awareness of AI. So it isn't conscious of the world, the way it works, and we're now looking at models that we could rethink or retrain into a being self-aware and world-aware before you make it relearn everything else. So one of the biggest challenges of AI is it doesn't have a common sense, right? It just kind of tries to serve you and it tries to produce outcomes, but it doesn't have a common sense. Something that a lot of people also don't have common sense, by the way. But let's say they could have common sense if they'd listen to everyone else around them. And an AI hasn't got that framework yet. So conflicts of requirements would generate hallucination is another thing that's very difficult. So if you have an agent that is responsible for doing the design of a software, and you'd have 2, 3, 4 different clients that are all telling them their perspective. And AI has a really hard time with making up their minds as to which conflict, how they need to resolve the conflict, okay? You see the same in self-driving cars. If an AI is expected to make a decision whether to hit the child or hit the dog, because they can't go back anymore, that's very difficult for an AI, so it will just stop or hallucinate. Okay, so those are very big challenges that we're trying to solve. Long term, it's very hard to tell you what's the long term expectation, because there are people in Silicon Valley that say that AGI is happening right now or like in the next few years. There are people that say it's 10, 20, if ever. So it's very hard. AGI is a big deal, and if AGI becomes a real thing, then a lot of very ethical questions and very philosophical questions will have to be answered before any technical questions, which I think are a lot easier than the ethical questions. 5 agents in my company. So we build our own sometimes. Like we have one that does document ingestion, so we produce a lot of documents at EY, as you can imagine. And so there is an agent that uses a RAG to pull any historical information that we have built for clients, depersonalize it, and make it intellectual property of EY that we can reuse for other clients. So we built Lego blocks out of personal development that we've done before by neutralizing it. That's one. It's our own development. We use Copilot. Everyone uses Copilot. We use GitHub and Cursor for coding. We use we use an agent for service management, the ServiceNow agent we use. And we use an agent in HR for any simple question. So there is an agent that basically runs 24/7 for any questions around policies, holiday scheduling, what are the limits, if I'm a foreigner, how does it work, and it has all the Hungarian labor laws there as well, so we use an agent for that. There are at least 10 more that I can think of, but those are the top 5.
Okay, next question. Is there a path from zero to hero on data science that you would recommend?
Yes, so there are, I would say, just to get to the level where you really get good at understanding it, first of all, you need to be really good at math if you want to do data science. Statistics. So if you haven't done statistics or it wasn't your favorite topic in school, learn statistics first, okay? That would be number 1. After that, there's really good data science courses online. Udemy and a couple of these online platforms have good content. When you're already an engineer, they're very easy to get into. And I would say within 6 months, you could get into a very strong understanding. There's even these interactive courses where you can start developing or writing code, which is really, really useful. But my advice would be also find an opportunity to participate in an environment where data science is already being used or developed, where we do things where we have Corvinus or ELTE or BME students that come for half a year to participate. They have some engineering degree, doesn't really matter which one, and we build them into a data engineer by giving them half-half training and real practice with data scientists on the floor. And there are lots of companies that need data scientists, lots of them. All of them are here, by the way, so go and talk to them and find an internship or find a part-time thing where you can learn and develop yourself at the same time. I wouldn't advise just reading the book and hoping that you will learn it. There are a lot of hands-on practices that you will only feel it when you start doing it yourself.
How do you handle the compliance part of your customers' data that's being fed into AI agents?
So we have a special framework called Responsible AI, which covers all of the compliance issues, like saying an agent offering a non-compliant offer to a client, or saying non-compliant things like gender bias or ageist. Look, they started shooting developers. You don't need them anymore. They started shooting them right now. Do you know? Oh, okay. It's a joke, guys. The only thing that I think is really important is that these frameworks are there to be refreshed. So what I say now is, right now we have a framework for that, but we will continue developing this framework as it goes along. It's a combination of an actual technical framework with specific repositories where all interactions with agents and AI are monitored and checked separately for bias, cyber threats, non-compliance against internal policies, non-compliance against laws, European laws, and even non-ethical practices like biases or profiling based on emotions or facial expressions, all that stuff which AI can clearly do. We are building that for ourselves. We have implemented that, but we're also building that for clients. So there's special governance standards that combine a set of technical measures with an actual kind of quality framework where your quality department reads that, your risk manager reads that, even your CEO would have a regular look at that saying, now that we're bringing in armies of agents, we need to start monitoring and managing them at the same time.
Another long one coming up. What about the negative effects of having code generated by LLMs? There is some research telling that speed goes up, but quality, maintainability, defect rate, security, and critical thinking goes down. How do you think this is going to evolve in the future?
That's just a temporary thing. People are doing a lot of experimenting. First of all, I think LLMs and models in general are going back to the place where they should be, which is a foundational place, and agents take over the actual kind of coding practice. So I don't think LLMs in the long term will be technically the solution that will do the actual coding. Okay, I think agents will be those coding agents that you want to work with. But second is, yes, as we are trying things out, some things will go wrong, and you're using things for the wrong way. Like there's a company that introduced 700 agents to replace all their customer care people in 3 months in Sweden. Okay, and they saved a lot of money, obviously, so they were super happy, their shareholders were very happy, and then suddenly the quality of care went like that, and their customers stopped buying, and the company almost went bankrupt, and they pulled off the agents all at the same time. So yes, if you experiment without really testing it properly and without really knowing what you're doing long term, things are going to go wrong. I think coding, the same thing. Look, it's undeniable that there are technical differences between how an LLM writes code and how you write code. And there's feedback loops that you have on a constant way. You're constantly questioning yourself, is this right, is this right, is this right? And an LLM doesn't always do that, or doesn't do that at all in some cases, but an agent does that. So for instance, what we do with agents is we train them to be very critical, to ask a lot of questions, and to rethink their own assumptions on a regular basis, which is how we work ourselves. Yes, we check ourselves all the time. So there will be mechanisms that will be implemented to improve the average quality output of AI when it's writing code. And it's early days, guys. It's been a few years that it's exploded. I guarantee you that will be fixed, and there will be logical mechanisms that we will standardly apply to make sure that the code becomes more reliable. There will be agents checking agents on the quality of their code.
All right. In the opening talk today, Simon Worley suggested to use contextual tooling
Yeah.
for coding. What practical day-to-day AI applications tools do you see for a front-end developer that fulfills the contextual tool term?
Oh, wow. Okay, so contextual tooling for coding is really important. I think that I from the top of my head, what we use in some clients where we're doing contextual tooling, we use natural and as a language, and we use I think cursor in that case. But for real contextual coding, like the stuff that is really trendy right now, we are not using anything in practice just yet. So it's also very early days. You need to start playing with it. You need to start doing some vibe coding and learning how to do prompting instead of the actual coding. But we are not using contextual coding in our operations yet.
If we're trying to avoid bias, how
Yeah.
can we trust AI when so much of its training data comes from white men and culturally there is so much unintentional bias, often for historical reasons?
So, look, can you fix all the data produced by white males in the world? No. So you need to kind of detect the bias and fix the bias and retrain. Yes, part of it can be done by artificial data and artificially generated data, which removes that bias. But retraining the whole internet is, unthinkable. So there will be biases, and even if they might now be white male bias, there may be other biases like pro-Chinese biases or pro-American biases that are just being developed right now by an LLM. So just white male is not the only problem. I think also, the politics of the world and how much unbelievable amounts of data and cyber data is being produced by AIs now to steer people's opinion on particular political topics is also polluting the data available on the internet for an LLM to learn from. So the trick is, yes, you need to clean up your data and you need to make it as bias-free as possible, but at the same time, these frameworks of stopping AIs from being biased is as important, if not more important, because you will never be able to fix all the data in your company. You'll be working 10, 20 years, and in the meantime, new data will have been produced, and I guarantee you not all of it will be clean and bias-free. So having a harness around it that protects you from AIs generating biased output is probably the most important thing.
Potentially the final question coming
Okay.
up. What's more useful, economically viable, engineering AI agents and using them, or moving the manual part of data process to SSCs?
So the answer is, we have a concept called fast shoring in EY. It's also, by the way, in other companies, which is, it's both. It isn't one or the other. It isn't only agents and use them instead of people. It's combining agents with people to be able to do things faster. Moving things to India or to Hungary or anywhere else is anyway never the only answer. You always want to improve your process. You always want to measure how customers are happier when they interact with a service like that. And doing shoring should not only be an economic factor, right? So very often now, a lot of shared service centers are here. I used to run one in the past as well. And they have evolved from just being shoring locations to delivery centers or innovation hubs or improving products or processes for clients. So that, I think, the economic answer is not so simple of saying, can I use AI or can I use a Hungarian or an Indian or a Chinese team instead? I think it's both. I think if you want to be smart as a company, you should not ignore one or the other. You should build concepts that include agents and people in destinations wherever you think is economically viable for you.
Okay, in case if there are no more questions, thank you very much. A huge round of applause, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.